Hello, Night Nation. I'm Trey Strelko from the Sons of UCF, joined by Eric Lopez of the Black and Gold Banneret. Welcome to Around the Kingdom. Elo, hello.
Hello, Trace. Coming up on the fastest UCF show around. Scott Frost spoke to the media. What did we learn, if anything? Big takeaways from Scott Frost's media availability, as well as some of the other coaches that spoke to the media, like Trace. I'll ask Trace about that. Basketball, right now, definitely not mile high in basketball, coming off a loss against Colorado. What has happened to UCF basketball? Baseball gets off to a great start. Softball runs into some problems in Clearwater. We'll discuss all of that and much more coming up right here on the fastest UCF show around the kingdom.
Before we get going with all of that, Elo, let us welcome in the third member of our team. He is Adam Eaton from the Sons of UCF, keeps an eye on the clock, keeps us on our toes. Adam, hello.
Gents, good evening. I apologize. It's been a busy day for me. I have not had a chance to catch up to my email. So I don't know if I missed anything. So I'm going to check my email real quick and while you guys are on the show. So I'll get back to you.
All right. Thank you, Adam. Elo, let us begin with what starts the week. Can we call it Ticket Gate? UCF sending an email to season ticket holders, scolding some for reselling their tickets on the secondary market. You know what is most commonplace now. Accounts not eligible for seat relocation in 2025 as a result. UCF threatens, that's my word, continuing this high resale activity may result in a loss of discounts if applicable. They didn't promise discounts, just if applicable, Elo, or forfeiture of renewal rights. Elo seems a little tone deaf coming off a 4-8 season.
Boy, has Adam got a rude awakening when he checks his email here in a few minutes. That's just interesting to me, Trace. You're going to have to help me figure this out. What is the motive between doing this? Is this because they're trying to recoup some of the resales? Obviously, they pushed in the email about, hey, if you want to resell your tickets, you can, but do it through UCF. Don't do it from an outside market, right? It's weird timing to do this. It's a bit of a risk, in my view, but that's got to be what it is, right? They're trying to recoup some of this money. I mean, what other explanation? I'm just trying to figure out the rationale. I'm always trying to figure out what the other side of view is on this. What do you think the point of view from UCF is on this?
Well, you know, when it comes to bowl games, they always say buy the tickets through UCF because it counts towards their allotment. Of course, fans would say, I can get better seats on the secondary market. There must be a financial angle. You know what would have helped UCF in this, Elo? I don't know. Have a communication and a conversation with your season ticket holders, not drop an email, right? In which you end with, and by the way, give more money, or words to that, liking. So,
well, that's the irony of this is now is the time where you need people to donate money. So it's kind of weird to pick this now. Like, if anything, you want to make it
after the renewal deadline too, right?
Right. Yeah.
Not before.
I just don't know if it's a losing battle, right? You can't control the secondary market. That's where it is today. So do
they want fans' money now, right? The people that bought men's and basketball season tickets. Yeah, if they want to sell the Kansas game or another high-profile game, isn't that their business? They've given UCF their donor dollars. And the ticket sales. So,
let me ask you this. Is there another angle to this? Do you think they're trying to avoid what kind of has happened in the past, like the Colorado game, where there's a lot of visiting fans coming to the game? West Virginia, didn't you tell me a couple of years ago when West Virginia's here, there was a lot of Mountaineer fans?
That's
we
right.
just saw this recently in basketball with Iowa State, a lot of fans. Do you think that's part of this motivation as well?
It could be. I'll make reference. We're way over time on this, Elo, and we'll talk more about it on Around the Kingdom overtime. But the Tampa Bay Lightning banned fans in their club seats from wearing opposing team gear, and that rankled quite a few season ticket holders and ticket buyers in those club seats, and still does. They'll provide you a Lightning shirt, but you can't be in their club seats and their sections with opposing team, paraphernalia. I do think it may also be an effort to create a greater home field advantage. You know what also does that? Winning games.
It always does. And the man that's going to be in charge of doing that on the football side, Trace, is Scott Frost, who last week had his media availability with everybody in the media. Finally, Trace, you've been asking for it for weeks and weeks, and you finally got it. So my question is, now that you finally got your wish, your dream come true of a media availability with Scott Frost, what was your observation from it?
Can I gripe, Elo, that it was 25 minutes and not an hour, that there was meat left on the bone we didn't get to ask? And I'm upset with myself. I failed you, Elo. I didn't ask how he compares his December period of time, this time, with the last time when he left UCF. Remember, doing double duty then. I thought about it. The fact, I will say this, I like listening to Scott Frost. I think he thinks through an answer. It's not those canned 20-second sound bites that you grew accustomed to and tired of from Gus Malzahn. But he looked tired and hard not to, feel that there was a lot of reason for that. Working the portal, recruiting, assembling a coaching staff, family as well, settling back in, an exhausting period of time for him. I think he's got quite a rebuild on his hands, Elo. He's got a whole new learning curve at play now in the changed landscape of college football.
But he's being honest about that, right? He's not like hiding this. I find that fascinating. He is so opposite from Gus, who was trying to we're going to be this great at this and then kind of set himself up for disappointment. Whereas Scott's like, hey, hold on a second here. Like, even when he was asked about Mackenzie Milton, he kind of put the brakes a little bit on on Mackenzie and the excitement and what he brings to the table, because try to control some of the narrative and the fanfare with that. By the way, in fairness, you were made available to the other coaches on the staff. It wasn't just Scott in particular, but I found him to be fascinating. I think he is somebody that's very honest, very candor in telling you, look, this is going to take this is a building blocks. We're taking it step by step, and I'm not going to deceive you on this. And I like that. I think that will help. And I think if I'm a fan, I got to appreciate that. Isn't that what fans always wanted, Trace, is your coaches to be honest with you? Whether you like it or not, whether you like the message or not, at least you're being honest with them. You're not trying to mislead them, right?
Two other nuggets that I felt were particularly honest when he said maybe the previous team was a little soft in the weight room, and they've got Zach Duvall back, and they're going to push these players in the weight room. And also that he wants and has so far received a partner in Terry Mahajer, and does not find the AD, at least at this point, debilitating, as he made reference to his former employer in Nebraska. So I do appreciate Scott Frost's candor.
How does it feel about the Cubs? Did you get in the question about the Cubs?
We did not.
Michelle beat you? Did Michelle beat you to this?
25 minutes, Elo, not the full 30, not an hour. We didn't get to the Cubs.
You couldn't sneak in a Cubs one. All right.
Shocking, Elo. There's already talk after this college football season ended just a couple of weeks ago in this 2025 year. Let's maybe change things. SEC, Big Ten meeting to decide what everybody else is going to have to do when it comes to the changes in the playoff structure. Maybe a 4-4 model where SEC, Big Ten both get 4. Maybe the Big 12 gets 2. The ACC gets 2. What do you make of it from a Big 12 perspective? They're getting some crumbs here. This really shows what we've been talking about since the outset of Around the Kingdom. The Big Ten, the SEC, they're controlling the direction of college football.
Well, and you knew after the SEC, in their opinion, and I don't necessarily disagree, perhaps got hosed on getting an extra team into the playoff this past year, whether it be Ole Miss, Alabama, South Carolina, take your pick. The fact that they were passed over by the Indianas and the SMUs probably didn't sit well with Greg Sankey. As far as the Big 12 perspective, I don't think it's a bad deal, Trace, from a football standpoint, because the Big 12 was not even in consideration to get a second team in this year. This might be your best chances to get a guaranteed 2 slots into the playoff, get some extra revenue. And I think if you're Brett Yormark, you want to play nice with the SEC and the Big Ten in football, because then in return, then where you're going to benefit is in basketball. As we'll get to later, the possibility of expanding and the Big 12 benefiting and getting a lot of the piece of the pie in the basketball tournament side of things. So I don't think it's as bad for the Big 12, whether you agree with it or not. I don't know, because here's the thing, Trace. Can you guarantee me that the Big 12 is going to be a 2-bid league under the current structure? I don't think they want it to be the Big Ten and SEC, right.
But it does pave the way for a 4-loss team of some sort from the SEC with their strength of schedule. Maybe it leads to changes like a 9-game scheduling model for conference play. And maybe this leads to the elimination of the conference championship games, right? Maybe you're going to see some play-in games here, Elo, where second and third team in your conference battle to get in for that second slot or third slot, fourth slot, whatever it is. So they're going to keep changing it, and they're going to do so to their benefit and to extract as much money from TV as they can.
And it's going to go, looks like, to 14 or 16 teams. Do you have a preference, either one, 14 or 16?
No, and then we're heading to 24, Elo. Right?
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah,
eventually,
pretty bad. That's pretty bad. Speaking of bad, it's bad to be.
There you go. There you go. You're waiting for that segue, Elo.
Folks, UCF drops another one at Colorado by 13, 76-63. The Knights have lost 6 in a row. Trace, your nephew gets the best of you again here. What happened?
Well, he called me Saturday afternoon and said, "What's the wager, Uncle?" I said, "There is no wager. We haven't paid off the other one because I haven't been out to visit." He said, "You don't believe in your Knights?" I go, "Kyle, I know my Knights. They are not going to Boulder and winning this game. Something had to give. And Colorado gets their first win of the season in Big 12 play. I knew UCF wasn't leaving Boulder with a win.
Yeah, not good. No Curry in the game, right? No Dior Johnson. I mean, Mikey Williams gets to start. Here's the strange thing, Trace. We've talked so much at length about the defense, but we've complimented the offense. The offense, though, now all of a sudden is struggling. Only scoring 63. You just wonder if it's just been bad. I mean, there's no other way of putting it. It's been ugly. It's been disappointing. You wonder where this mindset of this team is as they head to Stillwater against Oklahoma State. But, I mean, it's been tough and it's been disappointing. I mean, there's no other way of looking at it, right, Trace? I mean, it was tough to watch.
4-4, Elo. We were talking about your column. We were talking about bubble, last 4 in, last 4 out.
Those are good times.
Yeah, way out. We thought 10 wins needed to be it. If you go 9-11 in conference play, it tells you all you need to know. They got to go 5-1 down the stretch, but got to get that first win to snap the 6-game losing streak.
You were at the Iowa State game. You were at the Iowa State game here when they lost prior to the Colorado game. Did you what vibes did you sense, any, if any, at all? Because that's the thing I'm trying to figure out is what happened to this team that was playing at a good level.
It feels a little like, Elo, that the loss at Kansas a couple weeks back really kind of shook them.
Yeah,
don't you think a little bit?
Well, I think that stretch. Remember we talked about that BYU Cincinnati stretch was so pivotal, and they lost both. And I think that Cincinnati game, something happened there. Remember, they just couldn't defend at all. I mean, our boy there at Suns Live flipped out, and hasn't been Hazel and tried to inspire. Didn't work out. It's been tough, man. It's been tough to watch. I've been very bummed out.
But the race in the Big 12 continues. And, it's funny. Every week, you don't know Utah suddenly, Sunday's opponent, they get a big win. No easy stretch. And this was the back stretch of the season, Elo, where you looked at a Utah and Oklahoma State and you thought, hey, there's some good possibility for wins on that schedule. But the Big 12 makes it tough.
Yeah, now they look at us as possibility to win. Because, the big story, College Game Day will be in Houston Saturday for the Iowa State-Houston game.
That's a good one.
How about Houston? Kelvin Sampson in position to win a second straight Big 12 regular season title. Pretty impressive by them. Kansas continues to be the enigma. Another kind of mediocre.
I think they're 1-6 down the stretch here, Elo. So
yeah,
far.
they have struggled a little bit. BYU picked up a big win against Kansas State. They look to be on the right side of the bubble. Kansas State's peaking hot here. Is it too late for them? Who knows? I think the Big 12 is still looking at about a 7-8 bid league, but it's going to be cool to see game day in Houston for the Iowa State-Houston game there and for a change and not cover an SEC game for a change. So I do think that's all positive for the Big 12 overall.
You know who's on the right side of the bubble? Adam Eaton. We bring him back in. Time for our silly game.
I'm always on the right side of the bubble, gentlemen. So is Alumni Hall, where you can get your official UCF gear, 4100 North Alafaya Trail, or Alumni Hall. Search for UCF if you want some unique quality UCF merchandise, gentlemen. Okay, this week, we're going to play a game called Call It Now. I'm going to give you something that may or may not happen in the future. You call it now. Tell me if it will happen or if it won't happen.
You're going to keep track of this? You're going to revisit this?
Elo, I'll start with you. Will baseball or softball make the NCAA tournament this year? Call it now. Will either of those two teams make the NCAA tournament?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I will say I think both can make it, but definitely baseball will make it.
Yes, definitely baseball. I agree also with Elo. Both could make it, but I feel better right now about baseball.
All right, Trace, call it now. Will the quarterback room we see today be the exact same before week 1 of the season? Call it now. Quarterback room the same? Yes or no?
No. I'm not convinced they don't still grab somebody out of the portal.
So you think everybody stays? You don't think anybody leaves?
Yeah, good point. My answer is no. My answer is no. It will not be the same. I was thinking only about acquiring another guy.
Eric Lopez, will the QB room be the same?
I'm just going to be different. Say, yeah, it will be the same because they believe in Scott Frost for at least a year and Mackenzie Milton. I'm going to say it stays the same.
All right, last one, Elo, start with you. 6 months from today, will the major sports, football, basketball, baseball, softball, volleyball, soccer, will they have the same coach they have right now? 6 months from today, will we have the same coach in those major sports as we have today?
All right, repeat the sports again.
Football, basketball, baseball, softball, volleyball, soccer.
Men's or women's soccer, men's or women's basketball.
Right.
Both.
Oh,
then I'm
Yeah.
going to say I will probably say no.
So 6 months from now, we will not have that same coaching roster.
No, no,
Not even close.
Absolutely
Okay.
not.
Well, I thought that would be a more challenging question. I'm going to go read my emails again.
All right, Elo. I budgeted a minute for this, but we can last it for 10 seconds if you want.
I mean, bracketology. Yeah. No,
Remember when this was all the rage? It was a standing item in this rundown.
I
Last
didn't
4 in, last
see
4
that's
out.
the advantage of football is you could be mediocre and still be interested in a bowl projection, whereas here not so much. I don't.
What
It's
can get the Knights back into this, Elo? They don't have to get to 9 or 10, right? What can get them back in on this side of the bubble?
well, the problem is you don't have any marquee games up until West Virginia at the end. That's going to help your resume. How about this, James? Can we just win a game first, Trace? Can we just win a game?
I know.
Can I feel
What
good
about
about a win?
conference tournament? What about conference
Oh,
tournament?
you're gonna
One
have to make a
projection
deep
I
run.
saw
Yeah.
Cincinnati. You want to match up again with Cincinnati first round?
No, they own us for whatever reason. They beat us every time. I'm tired of it. Can we get? I don't know who the heck we want right now, but that they seem to have our number. Look, you're gonna have to win a game. I just want to see if they can find a way to win against Oklahoma State or Utah. Maybe finish strong, have a strong conference tournament. You get back in the conversation because you do have marquee wins against A&M, Texas Tech on the resume that is very attractive. But it's we just got to win a game first before we can even get into any other conversations.
True.
So we'll see.
But
it's
conversation is continuing now about expanding the field. Pete Thamel reporting the NCAA may expand the tournament to 76 schools in 2026. If that were to happen, there'd also be a corresponding move to increase the field for the women's tournament. I know Johnny Dawkins has talked about really when you think of 68 schools with playing games and all of that, it's really as a percentage much lower than the percentage that go to bowl games and participation in some of the other tournaments. What do you make of that, Elo? It would create a whole other bracket of play-in games.
He is right about the percentages. I don't know, man. I'm a traditionalist. I like the 64. I'm not thrilled with 68 in the playing games. It's weird. Then the question becomes, okay, so you're going to add basically a full day of playing games if you go to 76 or 72 for that matter, but 76 for sure. What seeds do you decide? Are you going to take out the 16s and the 15s, make them earn it? Are you going to get more bubble teams involved? I think those are some questions. And
how can we get every school in the SEC into March Madness?
You laugh, right? But that's a part of it. And remember, we talked earlier about the football playoff and why I think Brett Yormark would be willing to agree to that football playoff proposal, because in return, he would benefit from this supersize expanding, because the Big 12 can go from being an 8 to 10 bid league to possibly a 10 to 12 bid league. So that's why the power brokers are doing this, to make more money and kick the little guy out. And that's what it's going to end up happening here. My only other thing, you mentioned the women. I understand why they're doing it with the women, because you have to do it for the men.
There aren't that many deep teams.
Exactly. What are we that is it the first round, couple of rounds are unwatchable. What are we doing? I'm sorry.
There are lopsided scores even in the NCAA tournament against some of the superpowers.
Absolutely. So, but whatever. We just throw away money. Let's go 100 teams while we're at it.
You say, well, we're still doing this show in a number of years, Elo, and we'll be talking about, remember when it got increased to 76? It'll just keep adding up, right? As long as the TV network's willing to pay for it, streaming services.
And while I may not like it from a sports standpoint, it does benefit UCF, Trace, because they are in a power league, and maybe that's the way UCF would get in. That would be definitely on the bubble right now if we were at 76. So, there's that. That's all I got. That's the positive end to that note. Hey, you know what's dramatic, though, folks? Just because basketball season you think is not going well, can I give you the game within the game? Look at this dramatic situation developing before our very eyes. Trace Trelko with a 1-point lead over Adam Eaton. Mr. Andrew, 2 points back. I'm 2 points back. That is, you have played this game for years, right? Would you not agree? This is as tight as it gets at this point in the year.
And with the scoring the way it is, 5, 3, 2, 1 points corresponding to what the points are in the game, nobody's going to get a lead here. So it is really going to come down to that final game. We're jockeying for positioning.
The season one, not so much. You're still ahead. I'm making some ground, right? But,
Let's talk about season points, Elo. I maintain 25-point lead over you. I want to talk, though, we'll talk a little bit about on Around the Kingdom overtime. Mr. Eaton scored perfect zeros for his combination of Colorado of Jordan Ivy Curry, who didn't play. Jalen Sellers didn't play. J.J. Taylor, I don't think he played, right?
No,
Did he play
no.
or he didn't come
That's
off
a
the bench?
trifecta. Congrats, Adam.
That is hard to do. Can you catch me, though, Elo? You're 25 behind with 7 games to go.
I mean, if Mikey Williams keeps getting this playing time, I think I could. He played. I think that's been a
6
bright
games
spot.
to go.
Yeah, last
6
couple games
to
there.
go.
Hey, you know what?
All right, Elo, props.
Props. All right. So last week we did baseball. All right. Congrats to you, Trace. You had Matt Prevesk 6 hits, even 2 games. I had Lex 5 hits. Adam Williamson 3 hits. Par for the course. All right.
Adam not so good at this game.
This week we're all gonna pick a baseball and a softball player. Baseball and softball player to pick, and they will combine those 2 players' amount of hits for this weekend. Starting,
okay. Who's up first?
You want? I will go first. I will pick softball first. I don't know if you've heard. I call their games. I will go with Sierra Humphreys. This is my first pick.
And then I got to pick softball now.
Yes, and then you'll get to pick baseball first. Actually,
Is Adam back in for this?
Yes.
Adam, can you come back in? I just want to see your face when I pick Stormy Konsolnik.
That's you, son of a. Give me, give me Samantha Ray.
Oh, slap hitter. I like that. Going a little short game, Adam. I like that. It's like the putter in golf. It's good. That works for you. All right, Trace, you go pick first baseball.
Khalees. I got Khalees.
Give me Lex Bodeker.
No Andrew Williamson for you this week.
That son of a.
I'll take Prevesk then. Thank you. I'll take Prevesk.
Okay. All right. Let's talk softball, Elo. Help me understand something. And I know I'm going to fire you up here on the clock. It ends up because of weather, a draw with Ohio State. Does that tie count in the standings? Because I see the record now is 7-5-1 on UCF's schedule page. That counts as a tie for them on the season. That's unusual, isn't it?
Yes. And the stupidity of this tournament made this happen because there was weather in the forecast. They decided they changed the fields, but because they wanted to protect the 2 main fields to make sure that the 2 primetime games on ESPN got played. So they started this game on a different field than it was originally supposed to be. Then weather comes in the 6th inning, which wipes out the Ohio State. And don't even get me started in the umpiring. The rain comes. They could have returned and in theory resumed the game, but they didn't want to chance it because, again, they wanted to protect the 2 night games. That's why it ended up in a tie. Obviously didn't go well for UCF on primetime against Florida State. It was a weird, frustrating Clearwater tournament. They got the 1 win against Clemson, lose by a run to Auburn in a game where really one call could have made the difference. It was a weird week. They go 2-4-1. Remember I told you 3-4, I would have taken it.
Go back, Elo. Go back to blowing that game against Liberty at home midweek. We were there for that. That one really stings when you know how the rest of the week turns out.
Well, no, think about this. Lose a 3-run lead against Liberty. Lose a 3-run lead against Ohio State. You're up 4-1 in that game. If you close that out when the rain comes, you win that game. So that is a concern a little bit. Offensively, still a work in progress. I know everybody's like, where's the power? And I'm just like, the answer is they all graduated. So it's going to take some time offensively. I do think this, Trace. I think we know there are 3 best arms in no particular order. You got Jasenia Lopez, the freshman we've talked about. Caitlin Felton's off to a great start.
Yeah.
And then Isabella Vega, who got the win against Missouri. She looks phenomenal too. So the talent in the arms are there. The next couple of weeks are important here. They need to get some things situated and answered. So again, young team, you're gonna have ups and downs, but I do like the direction they're going, and they learned a lot from this brutal stretch of the schedule. So we'll see. I'm optimistic because you got to. Hey, Trace, did I mention UCF was against Florida State on Sunday night? ESPN, the Golden Knights apparently are back. Yes, that was the graphic we all saw on ESPN.
How does this happen in 2025, Elo? Come on.
It's a great. You're asking me? I'm asking you. I don't know.
They've abandoned this branding for nearly 20 years.
Yes.
Yet you have announcers all across this country. ESPN, the graphics people. Where does it come from? How does it get pulled up? Where does it exist? Why?
It's frustrating in a lot of ways because it feels like the production there was not, let's just say, hard working on that. Keep in mind they did 40 games in 4 days over there.
But
You
somebody
wonder,
had to create that graphic.
correct. I don't have a good answer for you. I thought the broadcast was an FSU infomercial, which I did not like. I want to let everybody know this UCF softball has been one of the top 20 winningest programs in this decade. It
You
ain't like
wouldn't
they're
know it.
just, yeah. And I didn't think they got a fair shake on that. And my God, the second base umpire, Chelsea Thomas, might have been one of the worst. Actually, his first base umpire, but she was covering second base on a blown call in the first inning. Might have been the worst call I've ever seen in 19 years at second base. Terrible.
Have you ever called a game with her in it?
No, I never even heard of her. That's the problem. I don't know where they getting these
I can't
umpires.
wait till you call a game and she's one of the umpires.
Oh, I better believe it. It's terrible.
All right, Elo,
Yeah.
let's
Cheer
switch
me
to
up.
baseball.
Yeah, cheer me up.
Elo, a sweep of Siena. You not so impressed.
I mean, it's Siena. It's batting practice, right? Like, come on. What do we really learn here, Trace? Oh, hey, they can hit the ball against Siena pitching. I know they got off to a slow start on Friday night, but they did what they were supposed to do, Trace. You tell
Well,
me
you can't read too much into it. You take the sweep
Right.
and you move on to a midweek game against Missouri.
Right, where you might get some answers there, a little better answers. But what stood out to you? You were there every game. You and the marching Sons. I don't know how we got to come up. Your entourage of great interns. But what jumped out to you?
Just that Coach Wallace, Rich Wallace, talked about building depth and recognized the shortcomings of this team a year ago, that they just didn't have enough arms down the stretch, conference tournament, NCAA tournament, and played a lot of people. So I don't read too much into it. I was a little nervous for a couple innings on Friday. Tom Stagliano, first pitch, serving up a home run. Knights down a couple early, but bats were there. I read nothing much into it. You did what you were expected to do, but I do like that they have more depth.
I will say this. Don't you feel like they're a much more confident program than they were, say, a year ago at this time? Remember a year ago this time, how they were struggling? They were getting hit by Bryant, weather issues and all that. And
it was a 12-11 game against Bryant on the opener, Elo.
Right. I get a sense Rich is much more confident in this group. I think he's much more confident in general. Remember, I think Rich was a lot more standoffish a year ago, kind of like Scott is right now, trying to keep the expectations low. I do sense much more confidence around this group at this time than I did a year ago. That is a positive sign, but certainly will get tested later in the season. It is interesting philosophy, though, Trey. Cindy likes to go right at teams right away. Hard, top teams to find out what they need to work on. Whereas, and again, some of this is not Rich's doing. Some of this he inherited, but he's going easy into the season. Interesting, complete different philosophies there, Trace.
Yes.
And both could work, by the way. Both could work.
We're going to find
when
out.
You're in a top 3 league. At least we hope they could both work. So, Trace, I noticed you were taking a lot of photos at the John Giuliano Park, and I noticed some new features going on, some new signage, including one of John Rice Plumlee, the 2 sports star, which it caused some interesting reactions.
Is it the word star that concerns you, Elo?
Explain to me, what are they doing with the signage first, and then we can get into this.
Rich Wallace wants to showcase the brand, the program, liven up the stadium a little bit. There's an image of him, one of former head coach Jay Bergman, and other stars and standouts. I'm going to continue to document that on social media. It was nice to release some of the moments, and when you're out at the ballpark, you'll see them as they recognize some of the teams that have won championships through the years as well with signage. So I think it's a ballpark. We talk about this. You could go to the soccer field, never know Michelle Akers-Stahl ever played at UCF. So I do think it's important to pay homage to your past.
I 100% agree with that. I like the team concept of that. My only question is, it's not like John Rice, and I like John Rice Plumlee. I covered John Rice Plumlee's baseball. Not really. Like, if we did a top 50 best UCF baseball players, I'm not sure he makes the list. Like, I'm surprised that he's got a signage out of it.
He makes a pillar, though, at John Giuliano Park.
Like, wouldn't Justin Pope, Jason Arnold, D.
They're
Brown,
there. I haven't taken pictures of everything.
Oh, so
You're reading too much into it. It's not just him. There are other people. Patience, Elo. There will be more pictures. All right.
All right.
Now you'll see more pictures. Time to bring back in Adam. Adam, what did we get right? What did we get wrong?
All right, rapid fire. Here we go. You guys talked about the playoff expansion. No mention of schedule changes, which I know was a big topic of conversation amongst us last week. Hey, do you guys know the last time Colorado had a Big 12 win was March 10th, 2011, when they beat Kansas State? Don't forget, this is their first time back in the Big 12. We are their first win in over 10 years. Oklahoma State, UCF, both 4-10 in conference, so it should be a real barn burner this week. Elo, here's one for you. When's the last time UCF softball ended a game in a tie?
Oh, wow. You put me on the spot here.
I like it.
A tie? Was it like a Minnesota out west, like 2020 or something like that?
April 18th, 2011, or sorry, 2021 against Wichita State, 11 scoreless innings. Yeah. And you mentioned Missouri coming to town this weekend, guys. They were in Puerto Rico for their opening weekend. They went 1-2, including a loss to Stetson. Curious if they're going back to Missouri, coming back to Orlando. So maybe we'll have them on a bit of a jet lag.
Yeah, no, they're coming from Puerto Rico to Orlando. Thank you, Adam. One more thing before we go. We know, Elo, UCF softball will be back in Clearwater in that invitational in 2026, along with the likes of Florida State, LSU, Missouri, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech for the Big 12, and more. Another tough field the Knights will compete in 2026. Look for new episodes midweek every week on the Sons of UCF YouTube channel and on the Sons podcast feed, where you'll also find Around the Kingdom Overtime. For Eric Lopez and Adam Eaton, I'm Trey Strelko. Thanks, everyone, for joining us for this week's Around the Kingdom.